being here. Okay, welcome. Okay, thank you very much for taking time out of this beautiful night to come join us. For those of you that have been here before, I am sorry if you've heard my speech before, but anyway, we're going to get a few things out of the way so that you know how this is going to work. There are 2 public hearings tonight. For each one, everybody is going to have a chance to talk, but in order to do things in an orderly manner, there's a few things we use as rules. First one is that you need to come up to this podium, okay? This is a very big room. It's very tough for everybody to hear you if you're not loud like me, so we need you to be able to talk into the microphone, okay? Okay, microphone. Please, when you get up here, adjust it to your height so that it is in front of your mouth. If you're short like me, it's down here. If you're tall, just point it up a little bit. That way we'll be able to hear you because this is being broadcast live on our town cable channel and on the website, so it's important that we hear you, okay? Secondly, when you get up here, if you can just say your name first and last, that way we have your comments accurately recorded for the record. There is not a sign-in, okay? Lastly, with these public hearings, things can get emotional, tempers can run high. All I ask is that you please just be respectful and kind to one another. If you don't agree with something that's being said up here, that's okay, just be supportive because it is really tough to get up in front of a room, especially when cameras are pointed at you, and talk, okay? So please, just be supportive of your neighbors because this is not an easy thing. I do this every week, most of you don't, okay? So just be kind and supportive of each other because this is not an easy thing to do. Please don't worry about the cameras. They're going to be moving the whole time, so if you're up here, don't worry about it. I know sometimes when people are up here, they can see it on the TV. It kind of scares them a bit, so just focus on the board in front of you. Don't worry about the cameras, and you'll be good, okay? Any questions before we get started? No? Awesome. Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
I will call the meeting of September 19th to order. Would we all please rise for the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Cahill.
Present.
Councilwoman Cataldi. Present. Attorney Genesi.
Present.
Supervisor Nesbitt.
Here.
Councilman Abbott.
Here.
Councilman Dean.
Here. We have one set of minutes to approve from September 5th, 2019.
I would move that we approve the minutes of September 5th, 2019, submitted by the town clerk.
Second.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Supervisor Nesbitt.
Aye. Okay, as Karen said, we have 2 public hearings this evening. First one is a tabled item from a couple weeks ago to consider posting no parking signs on Old Ridge Road. And the second one is to consider the proposed 2020 town of Webster budget. First one we'll take is to consider posting no parking signs on Old Ridge Road. Before I open it up for conversation, I do have a little presentation to make, and the reason why that we are here this evening for this. I like to bring everyone up on a history concerning parking in this area since Knuckleheads opened in 2014. There has been mention that I did notify Knuckleheads about this meeting tonight, but we sent out mailings to all property owners from Bay Road to Maple Drive. I was not aware that Knuckleheads did not own the property on Old Ridge, and for that I apologize for not making personal contact with them about this meeting. But the property owner was noticed. I would like to say that this public hearing isn't about the business Knuckleheads is running on Old Ridge Road. The town of Webster is very happy to have them as a business in town. They run a clean operation, inside and out, and no one is trying to punish the business here or impact their business either. But since 2015, the town board, planning board, and zoning board have been addressing parking of patrons on Old Ridge Road that has caused hardship and damage to property owners along the Old Ridge with no respect for the properties they live in. In fact, about a year ago, Superintendent of Highways, Joe Herbst, asked for a meeting of the residents because the residents were putting rocks in buckets and putting them on the walking path and the sidewalk, and that was a liability on their part. And the superintendent of the highways, who was responsible for that road, called a meeting in, had the neighbors come in, and to inform them that they could not do that any longer, because if any damage from snow plows or anything, they would be responsible. So they took the buckets away. Okay? They haven't been there, from my knowledge, for a long time. That was to prevent people from parking on the walking path, sidewalk, walking path, and going up on their lawns. We also, just for a quick summary here, this is not the first time we've held these public hearings. Just recently, we held one for Somerdale, where they had problems with speeding on their street. The only way we can get the people together is to send out letters, bring them into this room, and try to find a solution. And that's what we're trying to do tonight. In fact, the town board meeting of March 19, 2015, Mr. Carl Witt, Ridge Road, addressed the town board with his concerns about cars parking on both sides of the street. On September 4th, 2018, Mr. Drummer addressed the parking situation in front of the planning board. He stated himself at that meeting about building a retaining wall in the rear of the property to increase more parking. On July 17, 2018, at the planning board meeting again, parking was addressed by Mr. Drummer and Mr. Witt, that parking was an issue. On August 19th this year, I received two phone calls from neighbors at my home around 5 p.m. about parking on both sides of Old Ridge Road, which was limiting sight distance for neighbors to get out of their driveways, and cars parking over the bike and walking path, and parking on grass portion of neighbors' yards. I got in my car and responded to Old Ridge Road to see cars parked on both sides of the street from Bay Road to Maple Drive, with patrons walking in the middle of the street to get to the brewery because the walkway was blocked by cars up and down Old Ridge Road. I talked to many neighbors that night and learned that this situation happens quite often, and they are upset with the situation. As supervisor and town board members, we represent all 44,000 residents of the town, and I've been told in some of my emails from patrons that I shouldn't care about the concerns of these residents because it doesn't happen that often. Again, as a town board member, that is not how the town board operates, and we are here tonight to see if a solution can be found that works for everyone. Again, this is not a meeting to punish knuckleheads or try to damage their business in any way. It's a meeting for all to understand that parking on both sides of the street during these events is not acceptable to the neighbors who have lived on this street for years before the brewery opened in 2014. I would think that knuckleheads would be most accommodating in trying to please the neighbors on Old Ridge Road so that the business could live in harmony with the neighbors, and I don't receive phone calls at dinner time. One idea that I might float is that knuckleheads rent a van on the nights they introduce a new beer and rent some parking space from St. Rita's Church, the military base, or the Damascus Temple, and shuttle people from these sites to the brewery to keep people from parking on Old Ridge Road. Neighbors also need to realize that if we put up no parking signs, that these signs also apply to them, meaning that they have a party or a Sunday gathering at their house and park on Old Ridge Road, they or family members will be subject to a parking ticket from the Webster Police. So I'm going to open this public hearing to hear from everyone that wants to talk about parking on Old Ridge Road. Remember, this hearing is about parking. It has nothing to do with how great the brewery is, how the business is run, how much you like the owners, what the hours are, taxes, how much, how good the business is for Webster, or how much you enjoy going there because the town board concurs with you. And there is no question about these items. And I'll throw in my latest email that I got before I came here, all the charity work that they do. Okay? There is no question about that. That's not the discussion tonight. And all my emails that I got from patrons, some not so nice, it was never about the business. It's about a community getting together with some residents that do not like the parking on both sides of the street. That's the issue. I was there on August the 19th. I pulled into a driveway. I couldn't see to get out. And they have to face that. Sight distance on both sides with cars behind you makes it troublesome. Okay? Back in 2014, the town board and the planning board, along with the zoning board, worked very hard to bring the brewery to Webster in a residential zone. In fact, Facebook quote from Knucklehead Brewery, "We asked for a lot, but we thought by asking for a lot, they would maybe ask us to scale back and maybe say some of these things we're not going to grant you." They granted us everything. It took multiple meetings, but the town was outstanding. The article goes on to say the drummer credited Webster Town Supervisor Ron Nesbitt for his help and support. The brewery was able to bounce ideas off of him, and he offered his coaching. I am the same supervisor today as I was then. I am trying to help people. I'm trying to help this community. I'm not trying to hurt a business. Nobody on this board's trying to hurt a business. We are trying to work together. And if you had a problem on your street and you called me on the phone, am I supposed to blow you off and say it doesn't matter? No, I'm supposed to do my job. This board's going to do their job tonight by listening to you, listening to the residents, and we will make a decision at some point in time what we're going to do. But I see a lot of people from Dublin. I appreciate you coming, but it's not about the business, not even close. Okay? They run a great business. I've been there, the whole 9 yards. We're talking about some parking here, 6, 8 times a year. It has nothing to do with anything else. Okay? So I'm going to open the public hearing. Like Karen says, you got to go up there, the podium, and address the parking issue. The brewery's out of the discussion, period. Out, because I'm going to gavel you down, because it's not part of this, okay? So let's talk about parking on both sides, or one side, or alternate, at 4 o'clock. We got a lot of options we could do here. But we have to satisfy some of these people. We really do, okay? So there was no sign-in sheet. If you just raise your hand, when the public hearing's open, I'll point to whoever. You go up, give us your name and your address, and for the clerk, and we'll see if we can come to some kind of resolution here this evening. Okay? So, I'm going to open the public hearing, and who would like to speak first? Yes, sir.
My name is Paul Leone, 1771 Lake Road in Webster. And I'm also the executive director of the New York State Brewers Association. Just happen to be based in Webster. I just want to give a brief background. In the brewing industry in New York State, there are 450 breweries in New York State. It's $5.4 billion economic impact, 20,000 jobs. This is a growing business. I get regular calls from city and town planners like yourself looking for breweries to be in their towns. I had one today from the town of Newark looking for breweries. As you know, successful business. As you should also know, breweries are not bars and they're not restaurants. Patrons aren't generally rowdy. Most of them are not. And they're generally not loud and rude. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but in general, the craft beer fan and the craft beer consumer are good people. It appears to me that having gone to Knucklehead on several occasions, that the neighboring businesses will not allow people to overflow park there. And I also know that Knucklehead is actively working on getting more parking in their area. So that would relieve the pressure eventually. I think further restricting parking around a successful business seems excessive to me, and as a resident, I oppose it. Let me also leave you with this. I don't know how it would look to the nearly 100,000 social media craft beer followers in this area if you do go ahead and impose restrictions on parking around here, further making it harder for people to visit the only brewery in Webster. And I think more importantly, something to think about is what will it say to anyone who wants to open a business in Webster where the town actually took steps to limit the growth of a successful business. Thank you. Oh, right, questions?
Anybody else?
My name is Pat Lyden. I live at 434 Ridge Road, which is 2 doors away from Knuckleheads. And the parking issue is not a constant, frequent problem, but like Ron said, 6 or 8 times a year, it does seem to be a problem. And line of sight's a big issue. Parking on the lawn can be a big issue. Blocking mailboxes, we can't even get our mailbox door down sometimes. So I have nothing against their business. I wish them well, but it's a safety hazard. Parking on both sides of the street, especially in the winter, it's a terrible hazard. There's no place, you can't walk on the lawn because of snowbanks, so the only choice is to walk on the road. And so you're a prisoner in your yard unless you drive a car, and when those conditions prevail. So it's a hazard, and it's mostly a hazard closer to Knuckleheads. As you get farther away, you don't find the parking is there. Maybe there is some way to limit no parking signs in a judicious manner so that everybody gets what they need. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
How's everybody doing today? Sorry, we all gotta be here on a nice Thursday outside. This is where it's okay. I'm Josh Doomer. I currently reside at 455 Del Rio Court in Webster, New York. Doomer, D-U-M-M-E-R, conflicted with Len Drummer. It's actually Doomer. It looks like dumber. Sounds better as Doomer though. We get that all the time. Tonight's meeting is clearly involved in no parking signs, and it does need to be addressed for everybody that's in the community. I agree with that 100%. There's a few days out of the year our patrons do park on the road for a few hours, and it might be 2 hours out of that day when we do have a big event. We do have a release. It might be our anniversary party or something along those lines, and it might be for 2 hours, the busiest time from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, which would be less if somebody was to host a family party at their house to have cars parked alongside of Ridge Road. So along with that, like Ron also addressed, he said that if this does go up, neighbors do have to be aware that you're not going to be allowed to have family parties. If you do, you're going to have to be parking on your lawn, I guess, or find an alternate parking spot, whether that's a wake you're going to have at your house for a gathering or a lawn care. Parking on the side of the road, they can't do that. I've heard first-hand testimonies from firefighters also. They've told me they have no problem when cars are parked on both sides of the roads getting down Ridge Road. So I don't find that a concern either, even though that was addressed earlier in the year. We've seriously been nothing but great neighbors to the community. We've donated countless charities in the community. We've helped out multiple people. One of my best friends this year, we raised $8,000 for him. So We do try to get back. We are trying to put a retaining wall in the back of the business right now. We split from our business partner right after we got approved to expand our business last year. So that did delay us a little bit, so we could pay him off in order to go forward with purchasing the building and building a retaining wall to extend more parking spots in the rear of the building. We still plan on doing that. We're waiting for the lot lines to come back before we purchase the building, because before we purchase the building, we do not want to have a building where we don't have the lot lines where we can't put the parking lot, because that would not make sense to us personally. So I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and voicing your own opinions. Everything means the world. We do let's come to a peaceful solution. I encourage all our neighbors to come in for a beer. If you don't drink beer, if you don't drink wine, come in for a bite to eat. I'm the chef that I went to culinary school. If you don't like the food, I'll personally give you your money back. You can go out your way with it. Thank you, guys.
Josh, can I just ask you a quick
Yes,
question?
sir.
So do you have any idea of how long before the additional parking?
Right now, we're just waiting on the attorneys with the lot lines, and as soon as we do buy the building, we got approved from the bank to do all of our construction we want to do, whether it's with the kitchen or with the exterior of the building, we got approved from the zoning board. So right now, we're waiting with the lot lines from our attorneys and the attorneys next to us in the town right now. So as soon as that gets approved, we're gonna go ahead and start getting everything underway.
Do you have any ideas or suggestions in the interim?
I lived in the city for actually 3 years. They have something called alternate parking over there, so one day of the road you could park there from 7 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock the next night, and then it switches to the other side.
Right.
So that could alleviate whether snowplows have to get through, whether tow trucks have to get through, whether fire trucks have to get through. There could be more room for that if we did do alternate parking. I think that could be a very viable solution if we did have to go down that route. It works in the city. I lived in there for 3 years. Snowplows could plow one side of the street when they wanted to. They could get by the next day. Everything else was plowed the next day. So that was a very viable solution when I lived in the city. I do like living in Webster a lot more. The city's a lot more quiet. It's a lot nicer. So
Josh, how many more parking spots are you putting in?
I think there's going to be about 15 to 20 more possibly in the back.
Probably bring you up to about 65?
I believe so. I don't know off the top of my head right now.
Okay.
I'd have to get back to you on that. I can send you an email if you'd like.
I was there the other day, I counted.
I can send you an email if you'd like to how many we can extend that.
Yeah, I pretty much counted the about 40 striped right now, and probably 15 in the back on the stone.
Yep.
Yeah, so, you know, again, like I said, I do check things out.
No, I'm not saying you don't, sir. I'll email you back with what our updated parking will be though, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day, sir.
Yes.
Thanks for the suggestion, Josh, appreciate it.
No problem, sir.
Hi, my name's Paul Osmondkowski, 19 Bainbridge Lane, Webster. The reality is, and I appreciate the problem, and I understand there needs to be a solution. The neighbors have an issue, but the reality is that you will be affecting a successful business, a business that rescued an abandoned building that was, for lack of better words, a piece of junk that they invested their life savings into turning into a successful business. So it's important that whatever solution is come up with, that we don't impact this successful business. I happen to enjoy going there, but whether you enjoy it or you don't, I support small business. Small business in this country has a difficult enough time. We shouldn't put hurdles in front of them. With respect to alternate parking, if that was a solution, in my opinion, I'm not sure the city solution of 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock to 7 o'clock would work, because their hours would it would be in the middle of their business day. You'd be better off going Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday type thing. Just a suggestion. And last but not least, nothing that does a lot for the community. Josh mentioned raising $8,000 for a friend. That friend has cystic fibrosis. It's not because they like somebody. They've raised money for cancer causes, for cystic fibrosis, and other things. It's a successful business that's worked bent over backwards, trying to work with the neighborhood, is here tonight trying to work with the neighborhood, and I hope whatever solution we come up with will also allow Knucklehead to survive. Thank you.
Thank you.
What up?
My name is Tim Seitz. I live at 453 Ridge Road. I've lived there for, well, in February it'll be 30 years. My grandparents, they owned that business, that building for 50 years. They ran a grocery store out of it. And yes, what I just heard the last person say, that after my grandparents left that business, a couple people tried to make a grocery store out of it, which it originally was, and it turned into a piece of junk. Len and his partner George at the time, Kathy, they came in and they made a nice business out of it, and made the building look a lot nicer. And I understand when they first opened, we had a parking issue. I get that. But Len went above and beyond to make additional parking, and again, and I don't even think it's 8 or 6 times a year that we have a parking problem there. I would say now, maybe 4 times a year they have a parking problem there. And we have more of a problem with parties going on at people's houses with the parking. There's more times a year that happens than with his business. I understand if we can come up with an alternative solution, that's great. But, and I realize this wasn't about, we didn't want to talk about the business, but like the last gentleman said, you're going to end up at some point, if it hurts the business and you drive him away, the corner is going to end up looking like gravel road in Ridge Road. And I don't know if anybody goes by gravel road and Ridge Road, but that's what it's going to end up looking like. So if we come to a solution, great. These guys, they again, when they first opened, they went up and down the neighborhood talking to people. They invited everybody in to talk. I love the small businesses also. I think that, there's got to be a solution to it, but, you don't want to drive that business out of there. That's all
I
I
think
got.
one of the key things that you just said is very important, and that's that knuckleheads went to all the neighbors up and down the road and had discussions. And to Ron's point, Supervisor Nesbitt's point, this is what we're here for tonight. We're here to have a discussion and to listen to the suggestions, and we've had some good suggestions. And small businesses in this country are the driving economic engine, and there's no way that we want to hurt any business, especially coming into Webster. So
There's never, I've never heard, and like I said, I live in 453, so I'm down the street a little bit. Yes, I understand I'm not supposed to stuff other people, but there's never any noise coming out of there. You never hear any squealing cars coming out of there. You get more noise and more squealing cars from the car show on Friday night at Mascot. There's cars tearing up and down Ridge Road from that. We have more of a problem with that than we do with knucklehead.
there's no question that it's a fantastic business and it's good to the residents, but to the gentleman that spoke about the line of sight, that is dangerous. If you're trying to come in and out, that is dangerous.
It is.
And that's.
Well, Ridge Road's dangerous coming out on
Well, sure,
the
it is, but to his point,
Yes,
lives down the street,
and if we can come up with a
that's a very
solution.
valid concern, so.
But again, you run into that problem just from people having get-togethers at their houses.
Sure.
That's a common thing.
Right.
People
We're
are,
here to talk
I got
about
neighbors
it.
having parties all the time that
Right.
get-togethers, but
Right.
are we gonna stop them from doing that, or have them park somewhere else? I don't know. We gotta, even maybe the one side of the road is a great idea.
I think that's a very good suggestion. I think that's something that we're definitely going to take into consideration while we're parking. We're going to have a discussion about that. But again, this is great that we're having this discussion. We're not just going to say, okay, we're going to do this and that will be that. As knuckleheads did when they were preparing to open, they had discussions. I'm glad that the people are here so we can involve everybody in this discussion this evening. I thank you for coming up and speaking.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Ken Corpus, 750 5 Mile Line Road. I have been here every time Knuckleheads has been in, except for 2 weeks ago. I missed the original open house. In support of them, was a close personal friend of George. I've met Len. All the people there are great. But I was there August, whatever the date was, when Ron was there. I was there shortly after him, and the parking was pretty bad. There is a bike path on the side of the road, and my question is, if people park in the bike path, I think that, you know, that would be maybe a ticketable offense. And there is no way to be able to park on the shoulder of the road and not block a portion of the lane. I just went there tonight, parked my car on the gutter, and you do block a good portion of the lane. So if you have that going on both sides, plus you have snow creeping in on the sides, it does make it real difficult. I've been by there in the wintertime as well. Again, the business is great. They're great people, but I think, you know, there needs to be something that would address the parking, and it just presents itself only a few times a year, but when it is there, I remember reading on Facebook the last time I went down there, there was a number of people that were just, you know, ripping Ron left and right about parking and all that. So I think there has to be, you know, some agreement. In addition to that, in the meetings when I was here before, I remember that there was a requirement, at least from the planning board, but also maybe from the zoning board, that the parking was contained within their lot. And so when it spills out onto the road, they're not following what they agreed to in the planning board, and they got approval. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Ken.
In the back.
I have quite a few points, but everybody's pretty much brought up most of them, so I won't bore you with going over things again and again. One thing I do want to touch on real quick is these guys have raised a lot of money for me, so I am in support of them. Yeah.
Maybe please have your name and address.
Yeah, sorry about that. Kyle Schuhart, 837 Shoemaker Road.
Thank you.
I am obviously in support of these guys. I think they run a fantastic business. I'll hit on a couple points that just got brought up. The date in question that you came in, Ron, to talk to whoever's managing that night, we worked very diligently, they worked very diligently to move cars off the road as soon as it was addressed. Not just because it was yourself, had it been a neighbor that came in and asked us to have those cars moved, it would have happened the same way.
I wasn't rude though.
No, not at all. I don't,
Just
did I say
to
that?
clarify that. I've been accused on Facebook of being rude. I don't think I was rude.
I don't think you should take anything on Facebook to heart either, though, so. I think that immediately afterwards, there were signs posted on the doors that knucklehead asking patrons not to park on one side. And I don't remember right now if it was the north or the south side, but those were posted immediately. And I believe up until right now, they've been followed pretty consistently. And if they're not, things are said, people are asked, hey, can you move your car off that side? So, like I said, I don't want to bore you guys with extra details. Ron, I know being an ex-business owner, I think the idea, floating out the idea of the van was great, but that still hinders Knucklehead in a way because they still have to pitch the bill for that. I'm sure anybody would be open to any other ideas that anybody has, though. Len is a very open guy. He's willing to talk about any other solutions. So, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Way in the back. Way in the back.
Hi, I'm Charlene DeLello. I live at 1080 Jackson Road.
How are you?
Hi. It just seems to me that we're talking about a few specific days of the year, and when I think of the Penfield Festival for the 4th of July, there's temporary police orders to not park on certain sides of the street. Same with the Lilac Festival. Maybe that's a consideration for those event days, instead of restricting parking 365 days a year, just on the days that it needs to be.
That's a great suggestion.
Brian, it is a great idea. That's actually something I wrote down earlier. Thank you.
Yes, sir, I'll get this over here.
My name is Joe Toomey. I live at 437 Ridge Road. I've lived there since 1992. Ran my business out of the building next door to my house for years. My employees parked on the road. I'm not one to want no parking signs in front of my house or all the way down the street that is going to keep me, and I don't run my business out of there anymore, but I just think...
You gave it away.
But it's just something where I don't think no parking at all is a good idea on both sides. I mean, you have people that live here that live down the street that have practically no driveway at all, that if they have a few people over, you know, and you're saying people have parties in the park, people have parties, they're parking on one side of the street, they're not blocking both sides. And I will tell you, when they park on both sides of the street, there's been times where cars have to stop one way because cars can't, because some people park way out, way too far. And I will say, I went over there one time because somebody was blocking half the street, went in, talked to his ex-partner, had the guy out there in 5 seconds and moved the car. But it's just, it does get a little dicey sometimes. And I've never complained, people park in front of my house, and if they park there, they park there. I don't want to see the business go downhill. But I think alternate parking or one-side parking would be a good idea.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Somebody over here.
Go first? You should.
Hi, I'm Bob Cushman. Can you hear me? Testing. Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I live at 830 Rollins Run. I haven't lived in Webster as long as Joe or Nick, but I'm a resident since 1988. By the way, I appreciate your opening statement and setting the level here. I am kind of disappointed that neighboring businesses haven't been as supportive of knuckleheads. I mean, as far as I know, the business across the street from them is actually not even open the same hours. So it's just kind of disappointing that, you know, they're, and I don't think they're represented here too. By the same token, I think the idea of the alternate parking, which has been brought up several times now, is a really good idea. I know Josh has lived downtown, my daughters live downtown, and I can tell you that it could be a source of revenue for the town because you wouldn't believe how many times they forget to move their cars. So I just wanted to bring that up, you know, as a third, fourth, fifth, wherever we are in that stream. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
Good evening. Mr. Nesbitt and board members, thank you for taking the time to meet here this evening. My name is Asia Cherry. For almost 10 years, I've successfully owned and run my own health coaching and personal training business in and around the Webster area. I have many clients, including some around the brewery area. You'll find some of them here this evening that do not feel as some of our other neighbors feel or has stated as a prisoner in their own yard. Mr. Nesbitt, you said that you're not here to personally attack knuckleheads, yet you clearly state that people have called you during your dinner at home. I'm not sure your personal phone number is public knowledge, but rather these are people that know you. And I respect that, and I respect that you would defend those that you care about, because I do the same. In 2014, when you planned to bring the brewery to Webster, was there a proposed parking plan then? Or was the proposed increase of business and taxes for Webster sweeter than the potential problems it would carry? At that time, you offered your coaching, so we're asking for your coaching now. Alternate parking, yeah, that would affect the business, but it'll also affect the families that live there. Garage sales, family get-togethers, baby showers, tragic events where people come together to support each other. Announcements prior to large events so people could possibly plan accordingly. Maybe that's communicated through an email list or Facebook page, neighbors of the brewery, something. Cornhill Festival neighbors, Fairport Canal Day neighbors, Park Avenue neighbors, they all plan accordingly. I think that in a country where most of us live behind a computer screen and are so quick to make assumptions and judgments, that we need to find a way to embrace community businesses that bring people together. The idea that knuckleheads pay or rent transportation vehicles or rent additional parking takes away from their charity work. Being a Genesee Valley Riding and Driving Club board member and a former Fairport Baptist Home board member, I respect businesses and people that make and take the time to help charities and those in need. Knuckleheads Cystic Fibrosis fundraiser alone has raised over $8,000. That's a personal cause to me since I've watched my cousin battle it since before he could walk. In case you're not aware of what cystic fibrosis is, it is a hereditary disease that affects the lungs that does shorten a person's lifespan. Should we take away from important causes to accommodate and drive people that are capable of driving themselves? Should we take away from that and other important causes to a few reactions that have never bothered to directly contact the brewery to state the issues that they have? We're here to come up with a solution, so let's communicate, be kind, and come up with a solution together. Knuckleheads is working on a solution that no one bothered to personally ask them. I dare use the word tattling before actually asking. Nobody asked. But we're here tonight to tell you that we are working on a solution. We're asking you to be patient. We hear you. I suggest that in a month or two, maybe we can meet together again and we can tell you where we're at with the retaining wall and the additional parking, so we can keep you updated. Perhaps in the meantime, during special events, the alternating parking could be whoever suggested earlier, like the special event parking, something like that. I think that's more than fair. If there's an eminent issue, residents can contact the brewery directly. I promise you, you will be taken seriously, you will be treated with respect, and your issue will be addressed a lot faster than waiting for next month's board meeting. I thank you for your time.
Ms. Cherry, could I have your address, please?
Can I give it to you privately?
It's going to be on the record. It's public information.
14, Grimstown, BRIMSDOWN, 14450.
Thank you very much.
Before you leave, I want to make one comment back to you. That before Glenn and his partner George got their permits, there was many, many meetings. And in those meetings, in front of the planning board, in front of the town board, in front of the zoning board, parking was always an issue, always. And because we have the experience to know that the business was going to grow, and this was going to be a problem. We were told, planning board chairman's here tonight too, that parking would be kept on site. So, I'm not holding feet to the fire, but to get the business in there, we did a lot to get the business in there. And we, like I said tonight in my speech, that nothing against knuckleheads, but they made some promises. And for the retaining wall, we know all about the retaining wall because they were in here not too long ago for the permit to get it, okay? So we know there's more parking coming, but these neighbors, how long do we want to make them wait? We need to find a solution. But some promises were made also to get the permit to bring the business here. So when you make promises and you put them in the resolution and they're in the legal minutes, those are promises, and they gotta be withheld to. So, I'm not trying to, not to waver the point, but we were told some things that right now are not holding up.
So 5 years ago, you were told, you knew that parking would eventually be an issue.
We knew that parking was gonna be an issue from day one.
Did you continue to offer your coaching as you did at that time?
We did. We wanted them to be successful, and I still want them to be successful today. No doubt in my mind, I want them to be, everybody in this room wants them to be successful. More than successful, okay? But we know, I was a businessman for 27 years, and if you're familiar with where I was business, they locked, as soon as they made Bay Road and took it from 4 lanes to 2 lanes and put that guardrail up, I lost half of my business because they cut me off, okay? And I wouldn't, I mean, I lost my, not all of it, I made money. But they killed me when they did that. So I know exactly what they're talking about here. Okay, I was in business, small business for 27 years. Okay, and you need parking. And what I did all the time was I promoted my business to make more people come in the store to make more money. So since the brewery's gone in, they've gone to Taco Tuesdays. They've gone to bands on Thursday night, Friday night, bands on Saturday night. What are they doing? They're drawing people in to make more money. And with that comes more cars. I understand the business. That's exactly what they're doing. He's got his family working there now. He's got a bigger payroll. He's there to make money. I understand it. But there's not enough parking. That's the problem. And now we're on the street. And we knew about this in 2014. And George knows, I had a conversation with him, he knows. He knows. I've been in his shoes. Thank you.
George isn't here anymore.
Glenn, I'm sorry, Glenn and George. I talked to them both. I talked to both.
Out of the business.
It's, you know. Nobody's trying to hurt the business, we're just trying to get to a solution. Yeah, in the back.
Hi, I'm Tom, sir. I live at 537 Brixton Trail. Just a real quick thing. One of the issues is always on release nights. And one thing that Len's done the last couple of release nights is he's had parking attendants out there. I was doing it last night, and that seems to help a lot.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
What's release nights?
The new beer.
I'm here. I saw somebody here, yes.
Good evening, I'm Stephen Boudelaire. I'm at 452 Ridge Road, so about 7 houses down from Knucklehead. I don't believe that the solution is to restrict parking for the residents in the area, so I support Knucklehead. Something that I don't know, it's been mentioned a few times tonight, line of sight issue. In the past week or two, I've seen that the alleged bike lane has been labeled as such, and so it seems as though the town is encouraging pedestrian traffic on a sloped bike lane, which is only 3 feet in width, 2 feet when the storm drain meets the curbside. So it's a bike lane that has storm drainage into it. So line of sight, if we're restricting the, Ron, I have a great appreciation for you coming down and taking a look at the property when complaints arise. I would encourage you to drive up and down Ridge Road and take a look at how many people have privately owned paved parking and how many spaces they have for parking. There's a number of houses that can only house 2 automobiles anymore, and then it's required to either go to the street or the suggestion to Knucklehead was to bus people in and off property. Residents aren't going to do that, and there is no legislation that keeps people from parking on the grass. So that is what the solution will end up being, is residents parking on the grass when they have company, any of the other solutions, or any of the other events. And that has 4 impacts. It has limited accessibility for emergency vehicles, it has line of sight issues for our bike path, it has increased stress of vehicles parking on unknown perhaps like utility lines under the ground, and 4th, it has a decreased property value. It has curbside appeal that's going to be diminished with cars parking on the grass. So I'm opposed to it, and that's what I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one quick thing, the highway superintendent is here, he can address that bike path, marking, whatever. It was scheduled to be, I asked him because everybody thought we did that because of this hearing. He can testify to the fact that it was already scheduled.
Mic'd up, so I'll be up there. It was sheer coincidence. It was on the books to label that. It's actually called a splash pad, not a sidewalk, because when we're mitigated or limited where we can actually offer sidewalks, it is the safe haven off the driving lanes where we can allow pedestrian to safely move. That was planned actually in probably May or June to be, you saw the new marks on there. That was actually supposed to be done in June, but we've been a little overworked as far as our workload. So unfortunately, Hard Road and Old Ridge there both got striped the same, it was a day or 2 apart, but it was just sheer coincidence that they happened. It had nothing to do with the board. They had no idea what my agenda is. That was on me. They had no idea what.
That's true.
So that was just coincidence.
Good evening, my name is Carl Witt. I live at 433 Ridge Road, and I'll go ahead and own the title. I'm probably the most hated guy in Webster right now. Yes, I'm the one that's probably made the most noise about having vehicles parked in my yard. First off, I'd like to say, Ken, your article today was probably the most objective and comprehensive coverage of this whole issue. And if anybody hasn't seen it, they probably should read it. Where else should we go with this? I don't want to take the problem that exists, okay, on Ridge Road and just move it a few hundred feet down the road. I mean, that doesn't, what's happening in my house it's not fair to put that onto somebody else just a little bit further down the street. Also, in the same token, I think what's happening in my house, it isn't, I live on the south side of the road, I don't think it's reasonable to say, okay, half the days go park on somebody else's lawn and then park on mine some other day. A solution does have to be reached, and for the record, I was never against business. I was never against the brewery. I never said I wanted them to fail. It's their prerogative to operate that business there. They went through all the legal mumbo jumbo, went to all the board meetings and got approval. That's fine. But I don't believe that what goes on at your leased property, okay, you pay a lease to be there, it should affect what happens at my house. For the record, Councilman Cahill, no one from the brewery contacted me in the last 5 years. Okay, nobody came to my house to talk about what's going on. So, your statement, maybe it's your opinion, but it's not mine. As you can tell, I'm not.
I was basing my statement on what was said earlier by someone.
Okay.
So thanks for.
No one's come to my house. Okay. As you can probably tell, I'm not in favor of any kind of parking. I will offer to any of my fellow residents on the Old Bridge, if the solution is to restrict the parking, it's somewhere along the length of the street. If you have an event that you think you need more parking, come see me. I'm at 433 Ridge Road, and we'll make arrangements to see how many cars we can park in my driveway to accommodate your event. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're getting towards the end here. Anybody else? Gonna wrap it up? Wrap it up. I think we said what we said.
My name is Len Doomer. I live at 800 Danforth Circle, Webster, New York, since 1992. Presently own Knucklehead Craft Brewing. And I say presently. I'm going to address a couple things. First of all, I'm going to read tonight. I don't normally read at events. People that know me well, I'm an ad-lib person, and I speak from my heart all the time. However, there's emotion, there's passion here, there's business involved, and there's a lot of people's feelings, and a lot of people we call family. So before I read this, and I know some of these things, one of the town board members, Mr. Nesbitt, said we're not going to address, but there have been other things stated earlier. My job is not here to challenge you to your statements that were inaccurate. I will do that with emails that I will present to all the board members at the end of my presentation. But two things. First of all, the business name is Knucklehead Craft Brewing. Show some respect. Call the business by its name. My name is Mr. Doomer. It's not drummer. It's not dumber.
Apologize.
If you've got a business in Webster, you should know the business owner. And when you come into my business, and you asked earlier if you were rude, you walked up to one of my employees that night, I was not there, and said these exact words. Where's the boss? You didn't say, where's Mr. Doomer? Then you approached my son, who was the manager, and you, in front of people, and I have witnesses to this, said, we gotta do something, there's cars on the road, what are you gonna do? And he said, we should like a beer. I think you need to show a little more respect. I talked to a bunch of other town supervisors, and I specifically asked them, would you go into a business?
I'm not gonna argue with you,
I
but
think
you
I
were
got
not
the
there, and
podium.
that's not the way the
I think I have the podium, you're a board member. I talked to other town supervisors and asked them, would you go into a business because neighbors call you at home at dinner time? And other supervisors I spoke to, and I can probably give you the names of the Republican Party, said no way ever. So just a suggestion. Let me read this, and then we'll go from there. First of all, Knucklehead Craft Brewing would like to thank the Webster Town Board for this opportunity for all Webster residents to have their voices heard at this meeting. The voices of a select few should not be heard over the voice of many. Thank goodness we do live in a democracy. The agenda of this meeting is to discuss the placing of no parking signs along Ridge Road from Bay Road to Maple Drive. I want you to truly think about something. How many times a year does this happen? Is it 365 days, 52 days, 26 days, 12 days, 6 days? Basing the answer on the past year is between 6 and 12. And by days, I mean 2 to 6 hours a day. So that equates to 24 to 72 hours per year. Seems to me a waste of Webster taxpayer dollars to spend time and money on signs and installing them. Only once in the past 49 days have cars been parked on the road due to our customers. Many of Knucklehead's craft brewing supporters who live in Webster and could not be here tonight are against no parking signs and have sent their support in the format of emails to this board. These people have shared their emails and the replies they received with us. Some of the replies allege that we have misled the town of Webster in regards to our plans to expand parking this past year. It's also been alleged that we are not a good neighbor, and some residents are calling the home at night of one of the board members. At the conclusion of this meeting, I will give copies of all these emails to each board member. I'll attempt to address these issues. First, after we met with various town boards last fall to get approval for installing a retaining wall on our property to increase parking, our previous business partner left the business. My family agreed to buy him out, and this changed our timeline for purchasing the building. We did not want to add more capital improvements to the business without owning the property. On May 2nd, 2019, we established a purchase contract for the building with the prior owner. On May 31st, we received a commitment letter from our bank for the financing. We thought we would shortly close on the property and start the retaining wall. Presently, we have still not closed on the property due to problems with lot lines. I refuse to close on a property that does not have a clear title and a clear abstract. Once the attorneys resolve this issue, we will anticipate closing on the property and start moving forward with the work. In regards to our business not being a good neighbor, we've shortened our hours of operation from 11 p.m. down to 10 p.m. because we listened to neighbors' concerns with our business. Not once has the Webster Police Department been called for a disturbance inside or outside our business. We give residents a local place to gather, share some good food and a beverage, and operate a family-focused, fun establishment where friendships are formed. We support the Webster Police Department, Webster Fire Department, local charities such as Heritage Christian Stables and Webster Comfort Care, to name just a few. In this past year alone, we've donated over 60 gift baskets to charities and held a private charity event with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation through the Just Breathe Foundation, whereby all the proceeds went to cystic fibrosis. We were extremely proud to give them a check for $8,000. And by the way, that was the night there were cars on the road. I apologize. If this is not an example of being a good neighbor by utilizing our business platform, then obviously we are doing something wrong. In conclusion, if the Webster Town Board decides to install no parking signs along this stretch of roadway, Knucklehead Craft Brewing, will continue to do business and support our community by offering our patrons, who we really call them family, a place to gather and see old friends plus new ones. Someone coined the term that Knucklehead Craft Brewing is the Cheers of Webster, kind of like the old TV show. We are proud to be Webster's first and only microbrewery and call it Cheers. Remember, we love the phrase, Webster, New York, where life is worth living and beer is worth drinking. Thank you all for allowing me to speak.
Mr. Doomer, before you leave, I just have
Doomer.
one question. Doomer, I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Mr. Doomer, why won't your neighbors, business neighbors, allow you parking on special event nights? What seems to be?
I don't know if I want to address that publicly.
Okay,
We've approached a person, Ranoletti, that owns the mobile gas station.
Right.
I can share with you their excuse why they won't allow it. We've approached the person that owns, which is now leased by Ready Imports. Ryan would be happy to do it. The owner of the building, we offered that person $1 million liability insurance policy because they claimed that was the problem, and $500 a month. And that person made it crystal clear to my face personally, we will never have our cars there, and we will never own that building.
Well, that's really, because what we're hearing is this is a special event issue. And as you say, it's only a few nights a year, afternoons a year. So for only special events, it boggles my mind that these neighbors could be so uncooperative with you and with the entire community. I just think it's really too bad.
Boggles my mind also.
And we do not argue the fact that your business is wonderful, and I do not mean any disrespect when I mispronounced your name. I've heard it so many different ways tonight. So, Mr. Doomer, I apologize.
I normally joke about my name to people all the time. So if you come into the brewery, I joke with people that, yeah, it looks like Dummer, but it sounds better as Doomer. But when I'm being addressed in a business setting, I expect people to know my name.
I understand.
Because I show respect the same way.
I also want to share with you that Supervisor Nesbitt still messes up my name. So.
Well,
but there has to be some compromise here, and I just want to let everybody know for the record, I might have a different approach to this from the rest of the members of the board, because I lived at 477 Ridge Road for 5 years. And I had one of those driveways where I couldn't park more than 2 cars. And I know that as a resident at that time, I would not have wanted no parking on my street. I get it. But we're looking for a solution that, you know, you can never make everybody happy, but we want to make most people happy. And I also think everyone in the room needs to know that it sounded, from what we were hearing on social media and what we were hearing in comments and emails, that we had already decided what we were going to do tonight. Nothing could be farther from the truth. We're here to figure out a solution.
That's why it was tabled to this night, so all 5 of us were here.
Right.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Because I'm going to close the meeting. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Linda Sampson, and I live at 451 Ridge Road. I've lived there for a little more than 2 years. I have custody of my 2 grandchildren, ages 7 and 9. We have a lot of little family get-togethers. For all the holidays, I cook for all of them. We have a little family reunion. They have their little birthday parties. I have 4 parking spaces in my driveway and no place on the lawn to park because I have flowers.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
My family needs to be able to park on the street in order to have our get-togethers. Knucklehead parking, believe it or not, in 2 years, I've noticed once, maybe that 49 days ago or whenever, that there was parking in front of my house. My feeling was that it's joyous, it's part of our community. And it didn't bother me at all. They're always welcome to park in front of my house. If parking was taken away from the side of the road in front of my house, it would create a hardship for our family and diminish our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last time. Okay. Public hearing is closed. And we'll bring it forward for discussion.
It's 4 times 5, 6 times a year, whatever amount the number is. It is the responsibility of the brewery to keep the traffic off the lawns and minimized on the road. They need to find a way to keep the cars within their own property limits. I understand they're going to extend parking. I understand it. You have a limit on how many people can be in the brewery at one time. What's that number?
97 right now.
97. You're going to do an expansion to go up to how many you hope?
The expansion won't take it up. According to your International Building Code, because occupancy has nothing to do with parking, as I'm sure you're well aware. People can Uber, they can walk. According to the International Building Code, it's 15 square feet per person if you have a restaurant/bar. They don't identify brewery, which includes tables. If you have open space, it goes down to 5 square feet per person. We have open space and tables. So I went conservative with the farmhouse that we have, and I came up with a number of 120. So I met with the fire marshal, and I've met with appropriate parties, and we got it changed. And when I asked why we didn't go to 120, because I'm sure you're aware, sprinkling code changed 2 years ago to 300 people to have a sprinkler system, I was told, well, we'll get there on the next go-round. Take the 97 right now. I said, okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so you have a roughly 97 to 120 occupancy. Equate that to 2 people to a car.
I can't, because you may have a party. We had a party just recently from people at Xerox that didn't even tell us. A bunch of people show up after work, they're all driving one to a car. So I can't tell people, you can't come to my business driving one person to a car.
I understand your problem.
What I can do for events, it was suggested to me today by a person out of town, a brewery down in Florida has done it for big events. They do a social media blitz and say anybody that proves they're Ubering to the business and home will give you a free beer. Now I gotta make sure I can do that with the state liquor authority, but I see why not. That's great, because now I don't worry about them driving also, and that's wonderful.
My concern is that we're trying to appease both your business and the residents.
But you also should take into consideration other businesses in the town. You should take into consideration other locations. Thomas High School, where there's no parking down the road, had an open house recently with cars up and down the road, and we don't ticket. St. Rita's Festival, St. Rita's at Easter, St. Rita's at Christmas. I mean, if you're going to target one place because of people calling board member at his house, you need to look at other businesses in Webster, and I can show you images where there's more cars in the road than my business, regularly.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying that we need to come to some solution with your brewery and your neighbors.
Understood. Right now, we don't feel very welcome. My options are close, sell, move. I've got plenty of towns talking to me about coming to their town.
I understand, and
I'm
I
just,
feel
not
your
threatening.
predicament, I
I'm
really
just giving a straight statement as a business owner. We've gone through a lot this past year in separation, it wasn't asked for. Financial hardship to pull us together, we did it, and we're still purchasing the building and moving forward, and putting everything on the line.
I guess, Mike, as a board member, I'd like to see you reach out to your neighbor, try to come up with a solution and come back to us with it.
They went door to door, so.
We went door to door to everybody from our business down to Maple Drive when we first opened. And if they weren't there, let them know if they were invited to a party to get to know us. Because when we first opened, there were challenges in the neighborhood. So I physically went down in 2016, I went to every household, and if people were home, asked their opinion about parking. I still have those documents. Does anybody on the board walk all the way down between Bay Road and Maple Drive and talk to everybody physically? No, of course not.
Well, we're campaigning.
Barry, that's excellent, I like that.
We'll be in that neighborhood soon.
But that's
Stop in
also,
for a pint.
Just listening to what we've heard here tonight.
Now, he doesn't want to.
Let's not public hearing part. If we're not, I feel you engaged, but that part's over.
but that's also why we have a public hearing. You know, we didn't go door to door before this public hearing to talk with everyone, but we're inviting you into our home to talk to us about it, and that's why we're all here. And I really feel terrible that you feel that we're so antagonistic against your business, because nothing could be farther than
Nothing
the
could be
truth
farther than the
about
truth.
us.
You say you don't feel
Absolutely
welcome,
not.
or
We want you here. We want to work it out.
Well, I've listened to, tonight we've talked about a shuttle bus, we've talked about temporary parking, we've talked about the fact we only do this 4 or 5 times a year, maybe a few more. Alternate parking, Uber, I think the Uber suggestion is something that we hadn't touched on until just now, is an excellent idea. My son lives in Phoenix and nobody ever goes to a bar where they aren't Ubering, everybody. I think notification to the residents on a timely basis, continual timely basis, like if you're gonna have another benefit, you're expecting a lot of cars, a week's notice to the guy saying, listen, we're gonna have this benefit this coming Saturday, we're expecting more people than normal, there's likely to be more parking on the street than normal. Give the people a chance to plan ahead for that. I think that would help tremendously. The only problem that I see about allowing parking to continue is the damage that gets done to the lawns. People parking on your lawn. You wouldn't want somebody that wasn't a friend of yours parking on your front yard, you know, for a party across the street. You'd want them to park in the street or in the driveway somewhere. I don't think that this issue is without solution. Look how many people are here. Everybody wants a solution of some sort, and I think that we can come together and come to a solution that can be amicable for most everyone here. We don't want to see parking signs up and down that road any more than anybody else does, but we gotta do something. We certainly don't. We don't want to put signs up and down that street or any other street where there isn't an absolute issue where we can't solve. But there's a lot of people here that are willing to work on that. So I would suggest that somehow we move forward with that idea.
And I was thinking of some sort of sandwich sign that says special event to let people know. And if it were possible to work out parking with your neighbors who are uncooperative, there are lots could be used just for those special events. But even if you put a special event sign out in front of your business, at least your neighbors in the residential area are going to know that something is going on. And I do like the idea of letting the neighbors know in advance that, you know, we've got a release coming up on whatever the date is, and there could be people parking on the street between 4 and 8 p.m. Just notify them so that they are aware of what's going on. It's wonderful that you put signs in the window since this occurred several weeks ago. I think that's great, and I know that the people who come into your place of business They want to be cooperative too.
I've never heard a negative thing about your business. I've always heard very, very positive things, especially as it's a family-oriented business. But I have to bring this issue up to the board and to the people here on a personal level. Back in the 80s, a very, very good friend of mine was leaving his driveway and had an issue with line of sight. He got T-boned and died. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is it's not and from my perspective, it's not how many times a year it happens, because it only took that once. And I know, Mr. Doomer, if that ever happened as a result of people parking on both sides, you would be heartbroken. You really would. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is it's imperative that we come up with a solution from a safety standpoint. And I think that the no parking on special events is a fantastic suggestion. I know they do it in the village. When they have the Fireman's Carnival, they shut down parking on both sides of a number of streets. So it does work. In conjunction with the Webster Police Department, they monitor that throughout the day. So if you know you're having a big special event, I don't know, it's an alternative, it's something that I'd like the board to consider, because I think it is a fantastic idea.
What is it, then where are they going to park to go to the special event?
That's the other.
That's the nights we're busy, is the special event, so if we do put no parking signs on the nights we are busy, then that will deter us from being busy in business, and we won't be making as much money then. And that's what we're in business for, anyway, I do business to make money.
And we are being proactive about the special events right now by putting up those signs and making sure that people are outside, showing people where to park, available spots, so it's something that we're already doing.
So where are they parking if they're not parking on the street that you're directing them?
I'm saying that when
Right
there's
now-
spots become available, we direct them.
Right now, we on a couple of the past events, we've had a couple of parking attendants, which we had to pay 2 more people to come in, which is, as a small business owner, as many people are, it's not an ideal situation, because you're just paying 2 more people to come out, and you're not making more money from that. So then, when we do have those 2 people on, they will make sure the lot, we have 1 person in the back, 1 in the front, walkie-talkie, say, hey, there's a spot open in the back, send somebody back. If not, like Stephanie just stated, we did have put signs on our door that said anybody could just park on the north side of the road, so we do not have 2 sides of the roads blocked. So with the 2 parking attendants we had, which wasn't ideal with the monetary value for us, that helped us having keeping 1 side of the road so the other side of the road was open.
We have a special event form that could be filled out, and at that time there, the special police could be notified. They could come down there and put up some cones or something on those special nights along the road, so it would not be parking. There is a fee for that, small, but you could get the special police to monitor that situation.
It's been around forever. What we generally use it for is when residents want to close the road down.
Correct.
We don't want to close the road.
No.
That's what he's talking about.
We don't want to close the road.
No, we're not closing the road, we're just during that portion of where they live, whatever.
If we were to pay them, could they close Ridge Road down for us on all the special events, all of Ridge Road right there in that section of the brewery?
No, I don't think they would do that.
Then why would we pay them?
No.
Probably not.
No. Highway? No. Okay. The 2 pros there, no. But what the special police can do is help you monitor this, because that's what they do. Okay? And there's a form, because when we run the Xerox events and stuff, you know, the 5K, the turkey trot, all those things, they're run through a special event. There's a form out there, and they'll come down and monitor the traffic for you at that point. Yes, ma'am.
Just to make note.
Public hearings, go ahead.
Okay.
Public hearings,
We're done.
I'm sorry. Okay. Anybody?
Presumably the speed limit on Ridge Road is slow enough and they're near enough to an intersection that hopefully that T-bone doesn't result in anything serious.
Yeah, people go down that road so fast, they don't fall.
Okay, we can talk to the police about that, but public hearings go, so, okay. We'll, go from there. Anybody?
I've expressed my opinion.
Okay.
More to add.
Done that? Okay, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take this back for advisement. We've done it before. And we'll get back to you in a couple weeks or something. We'll have a little workshop, not a town board meeting. And we'll make sure everybody that was notified tonight will be notified again. And we'll see if we can come up with some solution. We'll work with the highway superintendent, police chief back there, and see what we can come up with for some kind of solution, either one side of the road, everything that's in the minutes tonight, we will take a look at. I don't want to leave anything out. So anything that was mentioned tonight, we will take a look at, and we'll go from there. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much,
Thank
everybody,
you
for
for
your
your input.
suggestions and your willingness to remain speaking. Thank you.
Long time. All right, buddy. Good to see you.
This must be the receiving line or something. I'll push it more over here.
Okay, we're going to bring it back. We have a second public hearing this evening to consider the proposed 2020 Town of Webster budget. Mr. Paul Adams over here, Director of Finance, is here to present the budget tonight. First, I would like to apologize for the misprinting of the 2020 budget in the Webster Herald. It looks like the computer ghost made some changes in the Excel program when it was transferred from the town to the Webster Herald before they put it in PDF format, causing the budget formula to change in the program, resulting in printing of some of the wrong numbers in last week. We had it reprinted at their expense, not ours. In today's Webster Herald, there's some copies available in the back, and it's always on the town's website. When I submitted my preliminary budget on August the 23rd. So it's been on the website since August the 23rd for anybody that wanted to look at the town budget. It's not like we were hiding anything or anything like that. The preliminary 2020 budget is a good budget. providing Webster residents with the same services as in the past year. The town of Webster stayed under the New York State tax cap, which gave the town $604,240 more in the levy. The levy is the amount to be raised by taxes to work with then in 2019. The town used up $583,616 of the tax cap, and we're carrying over to 2021, $20,624. Paul's got some numbers up there on the screen to read. I'll go through them. You can read them. They're on the TV screens also. The appropriation estimated expenses this year from 2019 from 2020, we are up 1.29%, or $331,332. What that means is, out of a $26 million budget, we are spending $331,000 more. Okay, the amount to be raised by taxes, the difference between the $26 million and the $15 million amount to be raised by taxes. In between that is fees that we get, sales tax money, mortgage tax monies, things like that. Some state money, you take those off the 26, and $15,523,000 is the tax levy. That's what the tax rate will be once you divide the total assessment of the town into the tax levy to get the tax rate. So that's up this year, $310,079, or 2.04%, which is allowed underneath the New York State tax cap. As you look down farther, we have operating districts, drainage districts, lighting districts, park districts, sewer districts, water districts, and they're all figured in here. I'll get to the bottom all in a minute. Do you have the line by line, or what else you have?
Well, the line by line follows this.
Okay, go to the line. I want to get to that later in a minute.
Yeah.
Go to the line by line. Okay, as we go to the line by line, we're going to kind of go through this quick. Unless anybody has any questions, they can stop me at that. Put your hand up if you want to stop me in between. Or, like I said, this is a public hearing. You have the opportunity to question the board afterwards if you'd like. Town board salaries, number one. Town board did not take a raise for 2020. Their salaries will remain the same. Justice Court, 2 justices did not take a raise. Their salaries will remain the same as in 2019. We do have some increases there in part-time and seasonal, and we have some retirements coming, so we're backfilling positions, and we have some extra costs in there. So overall, revenues and fines continue to bring us in some money, which comes off of that, and the amount to be raised by taxes next year would be $119,474. Supervisor's salary, supervisor is not taking a raise next year. The rest of that is my assistant, who is getting a raise, and some rest of it's just part-time personnel when she's on vacation, membership meetings, so that's up about a little bit more than $1,000, not much. Okay, next we got the director of finance. His salary is down a little bit. The whole department in all is also down from $369,671 to $368,090. I'm not going to go through all the line items. Somebody's got a question, they can stop me. But that line item is lower than 2019. We got accounting, audit accounting, which we have to do with the auditors. Technology is up a little bit because, as always, as things continue to go on, we need new servers, capital purchases in there, new computers, and what's the big thing in there, Steve?
We're building out our wireless network more.
We're building out the wireless network more, so the capital purchases are up. So in 2019, he had 283,000 this way. This year, it's up $8,000 to 291. We have tax collection this year. Overall, she is down 66,000 in that department. Also, moving to the assessing department. Assessing's up, and that's a big one this year. We're putting more money in here because we're looking forward to do a town-wide revaluation, reassessment of the town. So we have started to put money into the assessing department to get ready for that. It's a 2-3 year project at least to update the data and hire people to go out and do this process. So her budget is up this year from 359,000 to 393 because we were putting in people to do this revaluation, which desperately needs to be done. We haven't done it since 2004. There are many answers as to why that wasn't done. Xerox was a big one. We had an agreement with them where if we did a reassessment of the town, then Xerox could have been, Xerox would have been reassessed also. And since there is no other campus in the United States of America as big as Xerox campus, you cannot get comparables, meaning you cannot compare Xerox with anything else in the United States. Okay? And it causes us a huge problem because they want to undervalue it when you don't. Since that agreement has expired, we have a new, I'm going to say 8, maybe 7?
To 2023.
Agreement with Xerox. And so we are set in stone for the next 6-7 years on what their assessment is. And with, so there's nothing, we can go ahead and now do the townwide reassessment. The town clerk's department, it's up just very little, from 210 to 211. What I might say too, and I didn't say, was the salary lines, wage lines in this budget on some of the departments are flat. And the reason for that is we are still in negotiations with the white and blue collar workers. And I had my 3rd or 4th negotiating session with the blue collar just on this weekend. We're making progress, but we will have them done by the end of the year. And instead of, we put money in contingency, which you'll see in the budget, in case they get wage increases, we have money in the budget to pay that, so it wouldn't be a takeaway. Also, department heads, I have 14 of them. They did receive a 2% raise. Cost of living right now is 1.7%, and they got a 2% raise for 2020. Moving on, town attorney, he's up just a little bit with that salary bump. Personnel, which is HR, is down, okay, from 133.8 to 121. Elections, they're all paid by Monroe County, so we won't get into that. We do have to budget it, and they will send us a check, except for the town labor part there. Building maintenance here is down another 4,000 on maintenance of our buildings, because we just did a remodel of this one, remodel of the town hall. We don't have to do some of the maintenance on some of these buildings, what we did. Town insurance, we bid it every single year. We have an agent that we go out and get the best price possible, and we rebid our insurance every single year. That's up about $5,000. Cable access, what's happening there is a lot of people are streaming now, so we are losing cable access fees, and in the future that's going to be a bigger problem. I'm going to tell you what, because people are streaming. If you look at your cable bill now, you see in the bottom there's a thing called franchise fee that comes to the town of Webster. That runs everything that we have in here, TV, whole 9 yards. That's what that money runs, and it's going down every single year, and it's going to be a problem in the future.
Tough one to estimate.
It's a tough one to estimate too. because they just sent us a check at the end of the year, and we don't know how many people dropped off before we get the check, so we kind of have to guess. Next one is special items, publications, legal charges, and you see in there the contingency that I talked about before is in there. And still that's down 20,000 from last year. Law enforcement, overall, it's down, and that's because the town board and working with the police chief has been proactive in the fact that we have been putting people into the police academy and not taking transfers. That allows us to hire police officers at a lower rate, and they stay with us longer. So we do have maybe 4 officers that could retire this year. If they do retire, we will put somebody in the academy. Other than that, if you look at the chief's budget all the way along, last year he was at $3,782,000. He's down this year to $3,690,000. We are buying a police hybrid car. Ford just came out with it. We don't know how that's going to work yet, so we'll see. They say that we might get $3,500 savings in gasoline. If they do, and it comes through, then we'll buy more, but we'll see what happens. Fire marshal, that's down because we have a new fire marshal, and he got less in wages than the other one this year for about 30 years. Animal controls, about the same. Special police, which I talked about before, that's down because last year they bought a new vehicle, or they budgeted to buy a new vehicle. They haven't bought it yet. Highway administration, which is superintendent's salary, employees, some there, all the way through. They were at $448,000. Now they're down to $406,000. It's a savings there. Street lighting, other things we have to do. Program for the aging, that's a reimbursement from the county. County reimburses us for a program for the aging. Economic opportunity development is what we put into the alliance that the town belongs to, along with the school district, Chamber of Commerce, the village, and the bid, and it's a very successful program. We got $1.4 million to do sidewalks on Ridge Road, which will start construction later this year. Recreation Department, there's $1,373,000 last year. He's down to $1,349,000 this year. As you can see a trend here, a lot of these departments this year did an outstanding job, and their budgets are coming in less than they did last year. They did a great job. Parks Department, I say there's no revenue to offset in the parks. Parks Department is just a lot of labor. And we do have a lot of parks. We got 10 or 11 parks. We got a lot of open space that needs to maintain. You have to look at open space. You just don't leave it out there. We have to maintain that open space, and it does cost money. So the amount to be raised by taxes is also $13,000 down in that department. The turf field is the Yankee Stadium or Basket Road field that the town has had. I think most people are aware we have made agreement with the school district to take that over. What we did with the $25,000 that field, instead of just putting it back and not allocating it, what we did was we put it in the Parks Department fund there, first time, because according to the Parks and Rec Board, they would like to buy some new equipment and that for some of the parks. So we reallocated that money so that they could spend that on the improvements of the parks. Historian is pretty much the same. We have our boards there, the Conservation Board, and it's about the same for the 7 members there. Drainage is up big, and drainage is a big thing that we can talk about. We do a lot of work on drainage. If anybody's been here a long time, like I have been, years ago, we have a rainstorm, and fire department would be pumping out basements left and right. That doesn't happen anymore because of the work the highway does to get that water to Lake Ontario. through the 4 tributaries that we have in the town of Webster. So there's a lot of work spent on drainage, a lot of money spent on drainage. As you can imagine, they fill up with debris, trees fall in them, and we're constantly going in there, opening drainage to get to Lake Ontario. Employee benefits was up about $200,000, and that's that's something it's not a small amount of money. When you look at that, I have that here. We had medical and dental insurance up $120,000. You had New York State retirement up $64,000. You had other employee benefits up $71,000. Retirees post-retirement benefits were up $81,000. We have contractual costs, they were up $529. So benefits and packages to our employees are always going up with healthcare costs, pension costs, dental costs. There's something we have to do, so it's just the way it is. But it's up to like $286,000 this year. We're at Public Works this year. They are spending some extra money. Jeff, what are you spending money on? Anything big?
Just keeping everything working and air conditioning, heating,
Okay.
fixing little things here and there.
I think there's 20 grand in there for a vehicle, but we're not sure if it's gonna be.
Okay. So he's up about $15,000 at this point. Building department, revenues and permits, the amount is in there. We have zoning board of appeals, which falls under Jeff, planning board. Those guys work hard, but they don't get paid a lot of money. Anybody knows the planning board or watches them on TV, that's what they do. And they don't get a lot of money. There's 5 zoning board members for $8,000, so it's not a lot of money. Highway department and equipment, that's a big one this year. We'll get there. Highway this year is going to be purchasing a 10-wheel dump truck for $235,000, a loader for $230,000, a new F-350 truck for another $75,000. And the revenues are down somewhat in the highway budget because we used to do a lot of work for Monroe County. What's happening here now is Monroe County has gone to federal grants on highway projects, which do not allow municipalities to work on those projects. They are only for private enterprises, and we cannot participate. So that has cut back on the amount of work we do for Monroe County and some of the revenue that we bring in. As you can see, LEAF is in there. It's up about $30,000 because those machines now cost $38,000 a pop to suck up the leaves. And if we didn't do leaves, oh man, my phone would be ringing off the hook. So we have to do leaves, and it is an expensive and labor-intensive part of the fall. And it got worse last year. Remember, it snowed. Remember it snowed early, and then the piles froze, and then we had to go along and try to pick it up. And it was just very, very labor intense. Snow removal is up about $40,000, but that's always a crapshoot because we do not know when it's going to snow, and we don't know for how long, and that is very labor intensive. How many hours the guys are out there, and how many days they're out there on overtime. It's we get a real snowfall, they could be out there 12 hours or so, going on, 8, 12, 14, Joe's telling me, at a pop, and it really does eat us up. The price of salt's up also, although Joe tells me the barn is full this year, right now, so we do have some, but the price of salt is also up, which affects what's going on. Where else? Oh yeah, Joe. Let's get over to sewage, waste treatment plant. This is one of our biggest departments this year in the increase, and there's a lot of reason for that. The sewer department had a huge impact on our budget for this year with sludge hauling taking a huge jump in price. We were paying around $256,000 a year, and after we went out to bid 3 times, the best price we could get for 2020 was $496,250, an increase of $240,250. Let's explain why that is. Anybody reads the newspapers right now and what's happening over in Fairport and Perrington, and the landfill that smells over there, nobody wants to take this stuff anymore. So it's become a kind of like a monopoly for the ones that are taking the sludge, and we have to take this to landfills far away from here. And it is costing us $496,000 to get rid of our sludge next year. We are working on some things, but this came upon us fast, and like I said, we went out to bid 3 times. And after a while, we got to sign a contract because we had to get it out here. We were upgrading pump stations around town. There's little buildings that you see around town for $140,000, along with $77,000 for repair, replacement, and lining of pipes in town. We're purchasing a new truck to replace a 2010 truck, and spending $50,400 for portable communication systems. To maintain the wastewater treatment plant under guidelines of the DEC is an expensive and time-consuming endeavor. In 2019, the sewer tax rate was $127.50 for operation of the collection system, and $45 for capital costs, for a combined total of $172.50. Because of the higher sludge hauling and overall costs increased in this department, the new rate for 2020 will be $148.16 for operation of the collection system and $40.29 for capital costs, for a combined total of $188.45, an increase of $15.95, which is the first major increase in the past 15 years. So we talked about sewer. We're also hiring one more employee there because, as everyone knows and is seen by the drone, we are improving our wastewater treatment plant with new digesters, and we need another employee. Am I going? Library. Library is one of our crown jewels. It's a crown jewel in Monroe County. It's probably 2nd or 3rd highest library that, you're going to tell me, 1 or 2. Library takes books out. Number 3, we dropped the 3. Okay, we're number 3. Well, other people built new libraries, that's why. But we're number 3 as far as how many people take out books and return them here at the library, and how many people go there. We were number 1, but I think Rush Henrietta and Rundequite built new libraries, so there's the fascination that goes with that. So this year, their budget is down a little bit. So $1,908,000 to $1,868,000. Library does a great job. Anybody that goes there for any of the programs knows that. And if some people do not know, that once the library gets that money on January the 1st, the town board has no control. Okay? The library has their own board of trustees, and they spend that $1,800,000 as they see fit on payroll and whatever. The town board's only function in the library is to give them the money. After that, we have very little say. Okay? They hire, they fire, they do what they want. We don't have any say. Okay? After that, we just got lighting districts. Did I miss anything, Paul? No. Just lighting districts, park districts. We got a lot of park districts. I'm not going to go into that. People know what they are. Drainage is huge. It's just, we need, being very honest, we need more money in the drainage. Joey will tell you that. Town board will tell you that. We really need to look at that more. Like I said, drainage is just plain huge. So, let me go here. See what else I got. one thing I like to say, one of the ongoing problems with this budget, this is Paul's first time working with it, and he found out what we have known for a long time, is the fact that the New York State tax cap does not allow for exemptions of capital projects. Like we did the remodel here, we did the remodel at Town Hall, we're doing the $9 million project at sewer treatment plant. Well, those bond costs count against the tax cap, okay? Where the Webster Central School District is exempt from that. And we are trying to get Albany to understand that we need to be exempt from them also. So if we take out any more bonds for a new highway garage, which we desperately need, open space, which people have been saying, buy more open space, buy more open space. Well, if we go out and take $5 million bond for open space, okay, those bond payments will count against the tax cap, and we will never make it because we had only $20,000 left this year. It's simple math, it doesn't confuse anybody. In fact, on open space, we took out the bond in 2025, 20-year bond. We are still paying for the bond, the $5.9 million bond we took out in 205, which will not be paid off to 2025. So, to go up and pay more money for open space while you're already paying a bond already, to me, is not fiscally responsible, and I would not entertain it. That includes sidewalks. Those bonds payments would make us break the tax cap, and so far residents have told us that's not what they want us to do. So, in the end, what does this all mean to the Webster tax rate for 2020? The town's tax rate will go up 6 cents. From $5.16 to $5.22. So if you got a $100,000 house, it's going to go up $6. Okay? If you got a $200,000 house, which is almost the average here in Webster, it's about $189, $195 is the average. You're probably about $11. $12 if you own a $200,000 house. Okay? The village tax rate is going to go up 1 cent. Okay, one little bit, from $4.68 to $4.69. 1 cent increase. I'm not trying to put anybody down, but just compare that increase to the bill that you're paying right now. The school district went up 49 cents. We went up 6 cents. Okay? 49.6. A year ago, they went up 46. So they've gone up 46 and 49, and we've gone up 6 and 6. We're doing a good job here. We are fiscally responsible to the taxpayers of the town of Webster. Okay? And we're bringing it home year after year after year because we know what Webster wants, and they want all the services that they get at the lowest possible tax rate we can. Now, if you want to spend more money, let us know. We'll break the tax cap, and we'll go out and raise the taxes. It's as simple as that. Be more than happy to, love to. But that's not what we're going to do here. Okay, not while I'm sitting here. Okay, I'm not going to spend more your money.
You don't want to.
I don't.
Love to.
My thing has always been, that money's your money. That money's your money. Why should I take your money and put it in a rainy day fund? Okay? You can spend your money any way you want. I only want $26 million to run the town the most cost-effective way we can run it at the cheapest we can. If you want to blow it on other things all the time, that's not me. Some people, I won't get on. Go ahead. I'm done. Yes, I do. I'm waiting for Paul.
I just wanted to thank all our department heads.
No, I got to open the public hearing.
Oh, it's not our turn yet?
No. You done?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. Thanks so much to the department heads and the town board for all their hard work over the past couple of months, because bringing this thing in under the tax cap is not an easy task, especially when you're faced with increases in highway and sewer and some decreasing revenues. So I think it worked out pretty well. We did have to use a pretty good chunk of fund balance In government, you can do something called appropriating fund balance, where you can take surplus funds and apply them like revenue within the budget. And we actually applied about almost $1.8 million, which was up $220,000 from last year. So basically, to stay under the tax cap, we had to dip into our savings, to our surplus. Now, that's something that can't take place year after year, but it's something we look at on a regular basis. So
But our fund balance is still pretty healthy.
we're in very good shape financially.
If we had any emergency, like the ice storm or anything, we would be able to pay our bills. The last ice storm, some of the towns could not pay their overtime in payroll. We could do that. We have enough in fund balance to, any emergency happen, we'd be in fine shape.
But not the kind of fund balance that our school district carries.
I didn't say that, you did. Okay, this is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing for anybody who has any questions or wants to talk. The department heads are in the building. If you want to ask them a question or have a question, you can direct it to me, and I can ask them. So if anybody has any questions, now's the time. If not, we will take a resolution to approve. Yes, sir.
You want me to go up there?
Please. I need your name, I need your address.
Social security number.
Even though I know who you are.
Are you requiring ID now?
No, I don't.
How you doing? Mark Skinner, 1306 Nature Trail Circle. The county tells us how much we're under-assessed. You know what that percent is? Are we at 90%, 80%?
We're at 77% assessment right now.
That's low, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that is low. That's why we're looking into doing the reassessment.
Okay, and as a resident, and I've lived in other towns, you know that, okay?
Right.
You're the only supervisor, this is the only board that I would trust not to take advantage of a reassessment
Yes.
and give us backdoor tax increases.
I will never
Because
do
there's
that.
lots of ways you can do that.
Oh, absolutely. I can spend all day here and tell you how to do it and how they're doing it today.
Yeah.
How their towns are doing. I just quickly tell you, they're constantly doing a reassessment, and let me tell you why. They're doing a reassessment to go to 100%, so they can go out there politically and tell them, I didn't raise your taxes, while they're raising your assessment. Mr. Nesbitt, this town board's not gonna do that. And when we do the assessment, the value will go up, but the assessment value will go up. I only need, like I said, $15 million tax cut. So if that assessment went up, what's gonna happen to your rate? Coming down.
It should go down, but
It
it
will
doesn't
go down.
always.
It will go down. If we didn't lower it, that means we're taking your money, and I wouldn't do that.
All right, yeah, that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for all of you doing such a great job taking care of our town.
Thank you.
And I'm sitting back there, you take a lot of abuse, but I appreciate, and I think a lot of people appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else for the public hearing before I close? Oh.
You're gonna have to move that mic up for sure. Yeah. Well, Ken Corpus again, 750, Find My Line. You didn't get it the first time, or the 50 other thousand times I've been here. I think I come every year now to the budget. I can't even remember how long I've owned property in the town for 25 years. I moved here in 1981. I'm here for one reason. One reason is that I enjoy living in Webster, and I think that we get a lot for our tax value. So I just want to thank you, appreciate the line item budget, although I still can't see how much a pencil costs. Next year. Yeah. Because I don't know of any other place that really gives that level of detail in the budgets. You can see exactly, almost everywhere where it went up and when it down, and it's a great amount of information, and I appreciate it. And again, I thank all of you for all your hard work, especially those that didn't take a raise, so thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Anybody else in public hearing? Can I close it? Bring it back to the board. Discussion. What do you want to say?
I just, I say it every year when we go through the budget, and when you start out, it's a painful process. We asked a lot of our department heads, and boy, they really brought it home this year. I'm amazed at how fiscally responsible they all were. Everybody is doing without something that they'd love to have, but that's just the reality of budget time and trying to stay under the cap. So I just want to thank all of our department heads for their hard work and their willingness to work with the board and to bring home a great budget. Thank you very much.
I started too early to thank all the department heads also, so this is my first year on the board. I was mayor for 4 years, so I've gone through budgets before, but I wasn't expecting that. To see all the department heads in one big room was interesting, and thankfully there was food there because there was some pressure and some conversations, so I can attest to the fact that our department has definitely struggled to keep our tax rate where it is. And to Mr. Corpus's point, from a transparency standpoint, you're not going to see a line-by-line budget, with the exception of the village of Webster that also publishes their line-by-line budget. I don't know of any other municipality that publishes a line-by-line item budget for their residents to see and to educate themselves prior to a public meeting where they can ask questions if they so desire. So from a transparency standpoint, I think we're ahead of the game here. So once again, I just want to thank everybody, all our department heads. You did a phenomenal job this year, and I do know and empathize with the pain that you went through on behalf of the taxpayers in the town of Webster. So thank you so much.
Every year it seems to get more difficult, and every year we seem to come in, and it's kind of mind-boggling actually. Everybody chipped in, everybody worked at it, and we came through with a budget that was under the cap. Didn't think it was going to happen, but it did.
I'm not sure how our department had trimmed the budget as much as they did this year. It's just phenomenal what they've done. I didn't believe it when we got to this point. I really didn't. I thought we'd be over the tax cap for sure. Looking at the numbers, looking at the costs of healthcare and retirement, I didn't think we were going to make it. I'm very pleased with what they've done to get us under the tax cap. I'm very proud of our department. So, very good job. Thank you.
I work with the department heads closely, and more often than some of the other board members, and we have monthly meetings, and they're always fun. When I tell them what we got to have and what we don't. And I'm as honest as they come. Joe and I butted heads this year, okay? Hard is right, over what his budget was and what we need.
You're right, I was there.
He is so passionate about the work that needs to be done here, but my job is fiscal. His is the other way. I don't think he spoke to me for a week and a half. But,
Month, 5, 6 weeks, yeah.
But he is so passionate, as they all are, that they're fighting for the best. If you come to town hall, and I don't care if it's Barb and the town clerk's office and the building department with Jeff, or deal with finance, or go to the library, or whatever. Sewer department, you don't see that much, but I invite you to go down there. It's a beautiful operation. They're here to do it for the people. That's what they hear. They pride themselves on being courteous and doing everything they can for the resident in this town. That's what it's all about. It's being open, it's being transparent. The transparent, boy, that word gets thrown around a lot, doesn't it? I don't, you're not transparent enough. Okay, we couldn't be any more here, as far as doing what we do. And I didn't forget the two town justices over here who woke up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning for cases, and come the first of the year, it's going to be worse for them, because come the first of the year, they can't give any bonds, so they have to give appearance tickets now. which are gonna mean that if you get an appearance ticket now for stealing something at Kohl's, before they could set bond, you would come back because you sent the money. No, that's not gonna happen. You're gonna get an appearance ticket. You know what's gonna happen? They're not coming back. So that means an officer is gonna have to take time to get a bench warrant, and now the officer's gonna have to go downtown or wherever, pick that person up and bring him into court. This system, they just broke the system, because these guys are gonna have more work to do, because no more bail now, okay? So, across the board, I wanna thank all my department heads for what they did, because they did an outstanding job. And, I got nothing more except I will make a resolution to approve the preliminary 2020 budget as submitted.
Second, third, fourth.
Okay. Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye.
Councilwoman Talby?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Henson?
Aye.
Okay, move on. Open to the floor. Anyone that wants to speak on any topic, my department heads go home. Thank you so much. Appreciate everything you do.
Very much.
Thank you.
It's been a long night, thanks.
Open to the floor for anyone who would like to speak. Not seeing that, I'll move on. Consideration of approved purchase orders, bills, prepaid warrants as submitted by the Director of Finance. Councilwoman Patali did the bills.
I did, I reviewed the bills yesterday, and all were in order. I would make a motion that we pay the bills.
Second.
Councilwoman Talby?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Supervisor Nesbit?
I will move to pay the prepaid warrants as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Talby?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Next, I have approved the budget transfers as submitted by the Director of Finance, please.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Talby?
Aye.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye. Next, we have a resolution to declare the following surplus trash recycling from the Parks and Recreation Department, beverage, air, refrigerator, asset number 5598. It's junk. Compressor blue couldn't be fixed. That's the country, that's what we live in now. It's throw away and buy, nobody fixes anything. So we had to buy a new one for over $2,000. That's a motion.
Second.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Talby?
Aye.
Next, we got a resolution to declare the following surplus for trash recycling from the sewer department, a filing cabinet, asset number 02230. Float tote, asset number 03831. Corning meter, asset number 01190.
I move that we approve those assets for trash and recycling.
Second.
Councilwoman Talby?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye. Next, we had a resolution to declare 63 items, mostly computers and, what else you got there, Steve?
Monitors.
Monitors. Okay. A surplus for trash recycling from the department. This is only half. We do a half a year. Third. We do a third of the computers in town hall every year, buy new, and then
33 following years.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilwoman Talby?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye. Let's have a resolution to declare the following surplus for transfer from the Webster Police Department to the Webster Special Police. Joe, you giving them a car, a 2015 Ford Taurus 06342, Special Police? Yeah?
I think it was given to them and the asset is finally getting transferred over.
Okay, I got you.
Yes.
Okay. We're transferring the asset.
Second.
Thank you.
Who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Robin.
Yeah. I-
Supervisor Nesbit?
Thank you.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Talby?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Just want you, come on. Okay, next, what gentleman over here is waiting for. Resolution to approve a licensing agreement to place a shed in the town of Webster drainage easement located at 1306 Nature Trail. You gotta go back up there and tell us what you're doing. Okay. And Charlie, was it on it? Did you get information on it?
I've got all the information
Okay.
except the direction of the property line.
Okay, thank you.
I could ask Mr. Scuderi that.
Okay.
Again, Mark Scuderi, 1306 Nature Trail Circle. The shed sits in the back of our property, near the property line. It's a flat area up above where the swale is. And Joe came out and took a look at everything. He approved us and my neighbors. We put in a 600-foot French drain. We did that about 3 weeks ago, and we've had no standing water since we did that. The shed was up on the only flat area up in the back of the property. We would have had to have moved that way up into the middle of the backyard if we couldn't use that flat area. So that's, we just like.
Mr. Scuderi, was the French drain put in the easement?
Yes.
Okay, so you want the license agreement for both the French drain and the shed? Just
It's meaning the shed. The French drain is already, it will be in the drainage easement anyhow. It just was.
I mean, it's just part of the drainage, so we don't need to do that.
No, just the
You
shed.
mentioned it in the file.
Just the
Shout
shed.
it out. The configuration of your property, I have, looks like a portion of Elru's map. There's a point, what is the direction there? I want to make reference to that in the license.
The back of the shed is facing north.
It's facing north, so it would be,
And there's woods
okay,
there.
so basically we're talking, it would be what, coming from the west and then going south? Point. So the point of your property is facing north? Okay.
Is facing north, correct.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll prepare the documents, I'll send them to you, and give you all thank you. And I'll send you all the information and you get it back.
All right, thank you. And there's no problem with the neighbors, we all work together. Like I said, the four of us put in the 600-foot French drain. And
The
Joe, I
key is-
believe you did get the pictures?
Yes.
The big key is Joey signed it off on. That's
Great.
That's the big key.
Is that it?
All right. So I am going to move to approve a licensing agreement to place a shed in the town of Webster drainage easement located at 1306 Nature Valley Trail.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Mutaldi?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
I was one correction. It's just nature trail, no doubt.
Okay.
Nature Trail Circle.
Circle. You do understand you will be paying for the filing fee?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Good. All right, just
Like I said, I trust this board, like no other.
no problem.
Councilman Dean, thank you.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you very
I was
much.
gonna get it done, okay? Next, we have a tabled item here, just Joe, gonna kind of refresh what's going on here. There's a resolution to consent to the placement of traffic control devices by the town of Webster Highway Department. We need it's already up, I know it is, a yield sign at the northwest corner on Sunningdale Rise at Heathland Circle, yield sign at the northwest corner of Northbrook Way at Summerdale, and a yield sign at the northeast corner on Morley Way at Woodsview Drive. Sir? Why?
Well, because because of volume of traffic at the intersection, and I don't know offhand if it's today's society, but it seems that they fail to yield. And most of these are higher intersections, so.
They're what?
Higher volume than a normal nature
Right.
subdivision, so this will help mitigate any accidents, just to clarify what's needed.
Okay. I'll make a resolution to the placement of the traffic control devices at those intersections.
Second.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye.
Councilman Mutaldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Okay, that's going to conclude tonight's meeting. For this evening, Barbara, taxes?
Tomorrow is the last day to pay your taxes and installments if you wish to do so. If you are paying your first installment, you have to add 1% to that first installment. If you don't know how much you owe, please give us a call at 872-7064, and we'll be more than happy to assist you. You can either come into the town hall, pay your bill, you can drop it in our drop box till 4:30 tomorrow, or you can drop it in the United States mail and make sure that your envelope is postmarked by September 20th. After tomorrow, you must pay your bill in full until October 1st with no interest. If you do not receive your bill, you can give us a call, and we'll email it to you or send it to you.
Anything else for the board, ma'am? Barbara's got one more thing.
The other thing I just want to remind everybody, if you are not registered to vote, you do have until, I believe it's October 10th or 11th to register to vote if you wish to vote this year in the general election.
Okay. Farmers Market Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Webster Town Center. We're very supportive of the farmers market. I'll be there. Plymouth County Legislator George Hebert will be there. Assemblyman Mark Johns will be there. Economic Development Director Matt Chatfield. Police Chief Joe Rieger will be there. And Town Justice David Cora will be there to answer any questions anybody might have on Webster government and what's going on.
I shall be there also.
You should be there, okay.
You know I'm gonna be there.
I know you
I'm gonna have breakfast delivered again.
will. Okay.
And I was planning to be there as well.
Okay, so we'll all be there. It's gonna be a nice Saturday to be there. Other than that, Barry, you got anything from your department? Billy?
No.
Nothing? Library? Nothing? They're good? Highway, sewer?
They're all busy.
Good. Good night, we'll see you in 2 weeks.